Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarian. This is the show where we cover everything that happened in the week in technology or stuff that we want to talk about in technology. Of course, I am joined by John Bubb from his new Soho loft. How you doing, John?
I'm using those new HoloLens from Microsoft.
Yeah, you're actually in a tenement right now.
You're actually seeing what I see.
Yeah, it looks great.
I've got it hooked up and everything, so it's actually being rendered.
How much of a dump
through Wirecast?
How much of a dump is a real place?
You don't even want to know.
There's no walls.
Just white walls.
That's it. Nothing else.
No windows.
Nothing. It's actually a storage locker.
It is. It's a closet.
You know what?
It's 2 feet by 2 feet.
You know, we were joking about that.
There's only room
for
for me to sit. That's it.
Listen, I think that's perfect. We were joking about that before we started the show on how, like, you know, a lot of people want more than they could possibly have, right? Like, I would love a beautiful high-rise in Soho. I would love a nice penthouse in Tribeca. But the reality is they're way too expensive. So what if you got, like, a really crappy, you know, apartment, like a dump, like literally a storage locker, like a nice-sized storage locker at the side of the studio, and you just walked around with the HoloLens all day? You'd be happy as a clam just sitting there. You could live wherever you want. You could live in Mars. Or on Mars.
Good.
You could live in Michael Jackson's Never Ever Ranch, whatever the thing was called. You could pick wherever you want to be.
I have a feeling, though, that you'd have a lot of eye strain from doing that, though.
Do you think so? Like, you know what?
In a way. What are the effects? How long could you realistically wear HoloLens?
You know what's interesting? Do you remember years ago, Bill Gates was talking, I'm talking like in the mid to late 90s. Bill Gates' concept was that you never painted your wall. You could have your wall become whatever color you want it to be because it was just like LCDs.
Yeah.
It was just like it was like this weird material that you could have anything on your wall and everything could reappear.
You could
and you don't
technically
need
do that. It's just going to be really freaking expensive.
Yeah, I mean you could do it.
You can get LED panels that do stuff like that.
Yeah. But this is it. Who needs that? This is like the grand vision
of it.
I need it. No, you put on your stupid glasses and you walk around and you could be wherever you want. You could be in my house if you wanted.
But then you're gonna have those people that complain that this gives you headaches, just like they complain about smart meters giving you headaches.
I'm actually excited about the HoloLens thing, and I don't like these gimmick things, but I actually think it's pretty cool that, you know, you could essentially travel to Mars.
I think it's really impressive that they have a working demo. My concern is, of course, I think they still have a long way to go for delivering a consumer product.
I spoke to two people. Paul is one, and another person that recently just got his hands on one. And they both said the experience was unbelievable.
Right.
That it felt real.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's really impressive that they can actually deliver on what they say it can do. It's the package for the consumer that they need to work on. And it's whether or not the technology is there to realistically do that.
Yeah. It's a very interesting
apparently,
concept.
I think what Paul was saying is that it's just you still wear this whole gigantic thing on your head that's still connected to basically a desktop computer.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. That's the issue right now. Eventually, I'm positive that they're going to have this thing just its own standalone device. The bigger picture here, I'm talking 25 years, are these contact lenses that you just pop on and there you go. You see whatever you want to see.
That's like way more than 25 years away.
No, I think 25. Listen, how great is that going to be? You marry someone that's not that attractive. Your husband got a big pot belly. He's growing stuff all over his face. You put on these contact lenses. He looks like Brad Pitt.
Everybody's always naked.
Michael Bublé. If you're into Michael Bublé. You know, like, this is what we're coming to now. Forget it. You can have whatever you want. I want it now. And it's here.
I don't know. That might be kind of dangerous because you could end up making people look like other people.
That's great. I want everybody to look like me.
If you commit a crime, you don't actually see who committed the crime.
John, I just want to stare at myself all day.
I could basically commit a crime as you.
You can, but if you take the contact lenses off, then you'll see that it's not.
Yeah.
Cameras don't have these contact lenses. Oh my god. So we didn't do a show last week. We've had a couple a couple of busy weeks over here at the GFQ network. We had Combs
You've had
stop
a lot
by.
of crap happen.
A lot of crap's happening. So why
That's
don't you
what's
go?
happened is you've had a lot of crap happen at your house.
Yeah, we had a hot water tank issue that we had to fix. We had someone stay over here. So now finally everything's back to normal. So John, why don't you go into a story? I know that there's a big RadioShack story, and I'm dying to talk about it.
Yeah, so this is kind of a sad story. RadioShack has officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection today. And this is sad because they've had a good 94-year history behind them. Everybody has memories of RadioShack. Everybody grew up with RadioShack. Everybody knows what RadioShack is. Everybody's been to a RadioShack. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they can last any longer. The electronics store has had 11 unprofitable quarters in a row that apparently even Weird Al and Drone and concept stores and Arduinos just can't overcome.
Yeah. We were talking about this on What the Tech on what was the downfall of RadioShack. Why would something that, they have thousands of stores throughout the country, and they became an institution when it came to getting electrical devices, last minute pickup stuff, but there was a transition that happened at some point where they no longer became a place to get computers and electronics, and they just started selling cell phones and overpriced, batteries and headphones.
Yeah.
And
the customer service ended up being crap.
The customer service was crap, but I think I was talking to a couple people about this, and I got a couple emails over the week, over the last couple days from former employees of RadioShack. One was a manager, he was a general manager of a store in Manhattan. Another one was an employee, I forgot where. And they both essentially said the same thing. They said inconsistency from store to store was one of the main reasons why they failed. Because if your store didn't perform well in certain things, you didn't really carry it. So, like, the one by me still had, like, all these, converters and soldering tool stuff and tools for electrical devices and capacitors. I could go in there right now and go buy a couple of capacitors if I needed to, because that's
you know what else I also think was a problem was that they were charging too much for those adapters compared to even other local retail stores.
Yeah, but where would you get it? Like right now, I'll ask this, and let me see what the chat room says about this. If I needed a 3.5 millimeter to, if I needed like a quarter inch to a quarter inch to give me something to convert over.
Eighth inch,
yeah, 1/8 to
just
a quarter.
Just your basic headphone adapter.
Basic headphone. Where would I get that from right now?
Any Walmart.
Yeah, but we don't have Walmart.
Any big box store.
I don't have one.
But see, New York is so different because you generally don't have those giant retail stores.
How far are you from, let's say, Walmart right now?
5 minutes. I'm literally 5 minutes away from Target, Walmart, Meijer. 10 minutes away from Best Buy. Probably another 5 minutes away from Staples.
Yeah, see, does Staples carry those adapters?
They probably do.
I
can go to Walmart. I can get that quarter inch to eighth inch adapter for my headphones for like $6. Where if I go to RadioShack, they want to charge me $14.
Yeah, see, we don't have I guess this is my situation. Like, I don't have a Walmart by me. Spencer, for example, does not have a Walmart or a Best Buy or a Target by him. He would have to drive quite a few miles to go to one. But he does have a RadioShack in the shopping center he lives by. And I had the same thing too. I got a RadioShack. So when we had to go buy all those wires, the last minute wire changes, went into RadioShack. It was literally 5 minutes away. Got them and came back. Yeah, I paid a couple bucks more at the end of the day. Maybe I paid $1.50 more altogether. But that's
not terrible.
That's not terrible.
My problem was the ones where you're paying like $5 or more than what you could get at another, Walmart.
Yeah, but if it's, I guess for emergency reasons, you could get, Home Depot.
Sure, yeah.
Home Depot even sells electronics now. So really, they weren't the only guy on the block that was doing this. But in a town like where I'm from, they're the only ones.
That's
weird. There's no place else. We don't have any of it right by. I mean, I could drive. There's a PC Richards, which is like our local electronic shop, but they don't carry, and they're overpriced too.
New York is so different than most other places, though. I mean, you're very much a city area. You're not in a really. You're a New York suburban area, but even a New York suburban area is very different than most suburbs.
Yeah. Seattle Mike pretty much hit the nail on the head. They were like a 7-Eleven. It was all for convenience, and that's absolutely right. It was for convenience, and that's why people went in there. But they really had a gigantic identity crisis, and they tried to revamp the entire concept of the store. And they were just a glorified, cell phone shop with really crappy service from the employees.
Yeah, and now Sprint is looking into possibly acquiring half of the stores that RadioShack is selling off.
Well, I'll tell you something. They won't be buying the one by me because the Sprint store opened up 2 stores down last week.
Isn't that weird how they're looking into acquiring half of the stores that RadioShack is going to close, yet there's probably a Sprint within probably a quarter mile of every RadioShack.
But what are they going to do with them? They're just going to shut them down and put a Sprint store right there?
Yeah. Probably.
That's so stupid. And what's going to happen to the other
We also have
half?
rumors that Amazon is looking to acquire some of the closed stores.
And essentially just make it an Amazon, I guess, like the locker place, right? A pickup location.
I don't know what they have planned with it. I think it would be cool if they could do some sort of retail location for Amazon.
That'd be great.
Not just a locker.
No, that'd be great. But you know what the problem with Amazon is? Amazon is more of a Walmart than a RadioShack.
Yes.
Right? Like, what would you sell in an Amazon shop? Like, what would you sell if you're Amazon? You would have to probably sell everything that Walmart sells. They're a warehouse for everything, unless they want to focus on electronics, Kindle device, the Kindle devices and I guess cell phones.
I think that's kind of their problem with wanting to open up a retail location is how do they do that? Because they are essentially the size of a Walmart. They don't want to open. I don't think they want to open a location the size of a Walmart.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Amazon could do with these, but regardless, they're pretty much finished at this point. They don't have too much longer left, and I feel bad for all those people that work there because now
I'm honestly surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah, listen.
I mean,
the reality people aren't shopping like that.
People going to RadioShack.
Well, I mean, look at Circuit City, right? Remember look what happened to them.
Yeah,
I prefer Circuit City over Best Buy for the longest time, and they went away. And RadioShack is not going away, and Best Buy is almost dead.
Liked Best Buy,
they're almost gone too.
I don't know what it is, but I go into a Best Buy and I just don't get a good feeling from being in a Best Buy. I don't like the atmosphere of Best Buy.
Well, they've gotten a lot better. I guess the only thing that you could get at Best Buy is like installation of home. Car stereos, like
Best
stuff
Buy
like that.
is almost more like a Sears now, I guess.
It's another one. Sears fell from
like
grace
the Best
too.
Buy by me. Yes, they sell a lot of appliances, but they also sell furniture now. They have a Gardner White furniture that takes up half of the Best Buy retail location.
Okay, I got a question for you. What does Sears sell now? I haven't gotten with Sears in 20 years. So what can you buy at Sears that you can't buy on Amazon?
If you're talking strictly electronics, Sears doesn't have a lot of electronics anymore.
I mean, I guess
I would say that Walmart's selection of electronics is larger than what you find at Sears.
Yeah, so I guess
unless you're talking about appliances like refrigerators and stoves.
Yeah, but I thought they only sell their brand. Like Kenmore is their brand, right?
In large part, yes.
Craftsman is a Sears brand.
Yeah.
So like tools you get from there, but I mean, I don't know. I maybe I don't have the urgency to, or cheap Levi's, says Seattle Mike. You can buy cheap Levi's from Sears. Yeah, listen, there's a place to go to buy everything at this point, and that place is called Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so their brands.
I like Amazon. I mean, when they send when your stuff gets shipped USPS today, I love it.
I've gotten something in less than 24 hours, and you can't really. How do you fight with that? How do you argue that? I would rather go into a store and buy something when you can get it literally in 24 hours.
And Paul did talk about this one issue with Amazon where you can't actually physically see the product that you're getting.
Yeah.
There's certain aspects of product that you just can't get without seeing it in person.
I'm looking at Sears right now. This is crazy.
The problem is that convenience is just such an overwhelming factor to all of it.
Oh, it's a humongous factor.
It's that even if it's not what you want, you just send it back and get a refund.
Yeah, but I'll give you another example. I mean, I have a RadioShack down the block, and I could go and buy the cable that I need, but I just order it on Amazon. I know it'll be here by noon the next day. So I don't have that sense of urgency to go and buy anything. Hard drives too. I just bought a hard drive. Got it overnighted. The next day, right here.
And there's a lot of things on Amazon that you just can't get elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think where Amazon fails is with clothing. They don't do well with clothing.
Yeah, but see, that's one of those products that very much depends on checking it out in person.
Yeah. John, why don't you go into another
I don't
story?
think that'll ever change either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think so. So here's one, and we'll continue. Staples is planning on buying Office Depot for $6 billion.
That's crazy.
So here's another big box going away. Staples just bought Office Depot, making it by far the biggest office supply outlet in the U.S. And they sell everything from computers to 3D printers at this point. The combined company hopes that it'll find a newfound clout to speed up its strategic reinvention. I don't know what they're trying to reinvent.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what Staples is going to do with Office Depot because, in a way, I couldn't believe that Staples has this much money. To be honest,
well, they're the only office
just
supplier.
In 2013 completed an acquisition and merger of Office Max.
Yeah,
or Office Depot did. Office Depot and Office Max merged, and Staples has been one of those companies that, in a way, felt like they were almost in the same boat as RadioShack, where they're struggling for staying relevant.
Yeah, well, the problem is who's going to an Office Depot or an Office Max?
I'll go in there if I want to buy a chair.
A chair, but you can buy. Yeah, we have a Staples by me, down the block, and I haven't gone in there in God knows how long.
I find no difference between Office Max, Office Depot, and Staples. None whatsoever. They are exactly the same freaking store.
Yeah, you know what? They make their money from printer supplies, ink, Staples brand ink. I'm trying to think what else you buy. I guess they sell a lot of electronics, and that's really weird to see. The paper company is selling electronics.
It's kind of sad though, if you actually look at this, because Office Depot just completed their merger of Office Max in 2013, and I'm sure that consolidated a lot of jobs and cut a lot of jobs. And here we are again. Staples is merging with Office Depot or taking over Office Depot, and we're going to have yet another round of consolidation and job cuts.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about Apple TV. New round of rumors. Every couple of months, we hear new rumors about this device. We have not gotten an update in a couple of years, right? When was the last update? 2 years ago?
For the Apple TV itself?
Yeah.
Oh, that was over 2 years ago.
Hardware update.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now there's more rumors. The rumors pointing at a Sling TV style, like PlayStation View style competitor. What they're hoping to do.
Yeah, Sling TV just launched, and as everybody knows, it's basically this subscription package that's only available on the internet that you can get. That'll have up to, I think, like 20 or so channels. Like they have a couple sports channels, they have a couple news channels, they have ABC, CBS, etc. And so now it looks like Apple TV, because they were rumored a while ago, about 6 months ago, that they were in talks with Time Warner, and then they were in talks with Comcast to do some sort of deal where they get content and channels from Comcast or Time Warner to offer their own TV service through Comcast or Time Warner.
Yeah, so what
And
they
now
were
it looks
hoping
like
on
they're trying
doing.
to go with a more direct route where they're contacting networks themselves and doing an over-the-top service similar to Sling TV.
So essentially, what they were trying to do before was say, okay, listen, Time Warner, listen, Verizon, listen, Comcast. Let's do a subscription model. You don't have to supply the cable boxes. You'll just have Apple TVs, and you can view it via the web interface, whatever you guys have, the app. That would have been the idea, and it would have been integrated in Apple TV. But that didn't really pan out the way they were hoping. And now they're trying to do something a little different with the way they're going to provide content. But, I mean, there's 25 million Apple TVs that have been sold at this point. And it's a popular box. Just I don't know if they're going to be happy. We're going to be happy with what the cable companies give them. Do you think it's a realistic thing for
Well,
Apple
it's not the
to
cable companies. They're going directly to the networks.
Well, yeah, they're going to the networks. That's what I meant. But are the networks going to give them what they want, considering the close ties to the cable companies?
I don't see why not. I think I'm trying to figure out how to say this. The restrictions, the networks and cable companies are starting to be a little bit looser, or at least the networks are being a little bit looser with understanding that, we're in a transition now. People are watching this stuff online on their computers on the go, and all this stuff really does need to be delivered over an IP network. And that's just kind of where we're at now. Whereas before, I was like, nope, we're going to stick to the traditional way of how everything is consumed. It has to be on a TV or on our website. And now it seems like they're realizing that, okay, that's not exactly all it's cracked up to be, and people are transitioning and moving over to watching stuff on their computer and on their phone. And they're not necessarily watching on a TV set. They're not sitting down in a living room watching TV.
So the rumor is suggesting that Apple will license content directly from the programmers. But who will they license? And now here's the other part. Okay, so let's say Apple is successful with this and they get NBC Universal, for example, right? And they get they get Viacom, but they don't get ABC, and they don't get some other channels. But Roku, on the other hand, is able to land a deal with ABC and the other channels. This is where it gets a little sketchy, right?
This is the same thing as digital wallets and whatnot, like we've seen with Apple
Absolutely,
Pay,
yeah.
where it works with some companies, but it doesn't work with everybody yet. It works with these credit card companies, and these retail locations, but it doesn't work with everything yet, I guess. And really, for this to eventually work, I think it's got to be more universal. I mean, it's a great start, and I understand we have to have a place to start, and I think this is going to be a good start, and it's definitely a sign that things are transitioning, I think, away from being traditionally consumed only by the TV and only in a living room environment. I personally think cable should be an application on a Roku or an Apple TV. I really do. I just got an HD Home Run Prime and an Amazon Fire TV, and I'm using XBMC/Kodi to get live TV from my HD Home Run Prime to my TV, and it's one of the best experiences I've ever had, to be honest. The fact that I don't have to switch inputs for anything. I've got my live TV right there. I've got my DVR right there. I can access easily from the same freaking application. And then if I want, I can easily switch over to Netflix or Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It's so much
makes it
easier than
easier.
having a dedicated cable box. Okay, this is cable. It's on a completely separate input, and it's completely separate from everything else that I have connected or want to do with consuming media on my TV.
It's interesting that we're in this state right now. What do you think is going to be the outcome of Apple TV?
I don't think anybody can say, because we've had rumors for like a year and a half of this service coming, and it's never quite materialized yet. So, and it's one of those things with Apple, you just never know exactly how they are going to execute something. Like, we'll hear rumors. We'll hear rumors that, oh, we're going to have a update to the MacBook Pro line, but it won't be exactly what was rumored. Or like, we'll get a rumor that there's an iPad Pro coming, but we don't actually get an iPad Pro. So I don't think anybody can say what's going to happen, even from the rumors that we do have.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, you know where I see this headed. The network saying screw Apple, screw all of them. What we're going to do, we're going to team up with the TV manufacturers and just build everything in there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to.
I really like the fact that cable as an application is such a better experience.
Yeah.
You saw screenshots of my setup. How cool was it?
So, by the way, Brian Monroe just linked us. So we're on Boy Genius Reports today, and they're talking about the best weird Roku channels. And in the second paragraph says, "Did you know that there's an entire Roku channel just for cruise addicts? Have you ever seen the Roku channel that's just a bunch of guys from Queens, New York?" Yeah. That's really funny.
Great.
Yeah. So listen, this is the world that we're in. We're on the TV. Anybody could have a TV channel at this point. It's something else. It's really something else.
I just like the fact that if Apple can deliver this in a way that I would want, and the fact that it's an application, it's a channel on Apple TV. It's not this, I have to switch between Apple TV, I have to switch between my cable box or DVR, etc. It should all just be in one slick interface. Yeah. That to me is the way to go. It's the modern way to go.
Yeah. All right, John, why don't you go into another story? You pick it.
Let's talk about the FCC and Tom Wheeler's editorial that he put in Wired magazine. He recently wrote on Wired an editorial basically saying that he's going to, I guess, make internet a public utility of sorts, whereby he's going to apply Title II, the agency's Title II authority, to treat broadband internet the same as telecoms.
Yeah, so he's pretty much treating it as a utility, right?
I guess.
Yeah. It's going to be classified as a utility, essentially.
Yeah. What's your take on this?
I don't know. Here's the problem. I don't know how this is going to be handled. And I don't know where I stand on this, and we're going to find out the ruling in I guess 20 days.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Basically what he's saying is he wants to set it. He does want to regulate the internet where there is no paid prioritization. There's no fast lane.
But is that a bad thing? But wait a minute. Okay, so
which everybody does seem to agree on.
I don't know if I agree on that. Is it right? Is it wrong to have a fast lane? If I want a fast lane, if I want better service for whatever I'm providing, if I'm Netflix and I come to you and I say, well, I want a fast lane, should I not be able to get that? I am using up a lot more bandwidth. I can't remember
the way that this was phrased because this example has been brought up before. But the problem isn't necessarily... See, this is a very complicated system.
Yeah. Well,
networks.
Chris Tobin last night made a good point on Twit. They were talking about this, and he said, is this an FCC issue, or is this a Department of Commerce issue? Is this a business issue?
Well, if you're talking about paid prioritization and slow lanes and fast lanes, the way I look at this is, if you're comparing us, we're a content creator. We create content to be consumed and delivered. We have video.
Yeah.
Netflix also has video. They're much larger than we are.
Much larger than we are.
So if Netflix gets to pay pay money because they're so much bigger than us and they have the money, then we end up in a slow lane.
Are we in a slow lane? Or are we on just...
No, not right now.
Yeah.
No, nobody's in a slow lane and nobody's really in a fast lane currently.
Well, no,
this really isn't necessarily an issue at the moment.
Yeah.
It's certainly a fear among people, and especially people like us that are much smaller compared to a company like Netflix that has the money to pay for what would be fast lanes.
But they are, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, right? I know the story. I understand what the problem is. I understand what the dangers are. I mean, what we fear will happen is that the ISPs are now going to... This issue here right now, it's for the Netflixes of the world, and it's for the Amazons, and it's for just the...
To a degree, yes.
But where we are questioning this is that the ISP's not treating that bandwidth, that internet equally. So packets are packets, right? Bandwidth is bandwidth. Yeah. So if I'm getting an email that's 25 megs, should that be treated the same as downloading an MP3 file that's 25 megs or a podcast that's 25 megs?
Well, the thing is that this really isn't even an issue currently.
No, but
this is the weird thing is that of all the complaints out there about internet, really isn't anything that anybody is complaining about.
Yeah.
People are complaining about competition and lack of choice of receiving internet and fast internet.
The problem is that the ISPs and the telcos have all merged into one mega company. You're gonna have Time Warner and Comcast merging. That's the problem. And again, they do not compete in the same markets. This is where the problem is. That you know how you
Title II is not actually going to do anything when it comes to creating competition.
No, it's not.
I mean, yes, Tom Wheeler has also said that he wants to make it. He doesn't want to set up a system where municipalities can't create their own internet.
But again, now when the municipalities start creating their own internet, if I'm a new ISP or if I want to expand my service, is that municipality going to allow me to come into your market, to their market?
Well, they got to do that now, regardless.
Yeah, but I'm not competing with the municipalities.
Currently, if Comcast wants to expand and install new lines, they still have to talk to that local municipality, even if they don't have their own internet service.
Yeah. So my whole point with this is this entire thing is not, in my opinion. You know how we benefit by creating competition. If Comcast, if Time Warner, if Verizon, if Frontier, and all the other cable companies essentially are fighting in the same market, you're going to have phenomenal service because the threat of leaving is going to be a lot more. People now will have options. The cable companies...
But everything that he's proposed so far is not going to do anything for that.
It's not doing anything for that. What they're doing is that they're regulating, like, the bandwidth. Like, okay, what is bandwidth? 25 megs.
Their scope of net neutrality that they're going to assign Title II to is not going to do anything in terms of actually creating more competition for internet services.
Yeah.
Aside from municipalities being allowed to create their own services.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like if you're cable, right? Because cable is still, to an extent, shared bandwidth amongst the community, amongst the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going based on the concept of this. And I'm the cable provider. I'm the ISP, and I'm noticing that 80% of all the traffic that's coming in between 7 to 10 is Netflix. Do I have the right, or should I be able to say, hey, guys, listen, you're using up all the 80% of the bandwidth at this point coming from you. We're going to have to come up with a way to give you, I guess, a fast lane where you pay in for this, and we don't have to, I guess, throttle you or do whatever to the service that's being offered. Should I have that right as a company to say that? You walk into a store, for example, and they got 50 things on the shelf. Can I walk in there and buy everything that you had and not allow anybody else to use it? I'm just throwing it out there. This is the mindset here. This is in my opinion, I'm all for competition. The
My
best way
whole
to
problem
regulate
with
is the
this
competition.
that this really doesn't do a whole lot of anything. The way I understand this, what it boils down to, in my opinion, is the way that I've assessed it thus far, is that what's being proposed currently, according to the editorial from Tom Wheeler in that article, is that basically nothing is going to happen. It's all right if we find somebody is doing this, when somebody does this, if it ever happens, we'll define it as this, and we'll go ahead and use Title II in areas where we deem it necessary to.
Well,
this isn't going to really affect anything as it stands.
Well, also, I mean,
so all this debate that's going on and about this is completely irrelevant at this point. What needs to happen is something completely separate. We need to have like a new internet bill that addresses all of these issues in a better manner and whatnot, because as it stands now, this doesn't do that.
Well, I'll give you. Someone just sent this to me, and he brought up a good point. Do you remember a couple of years ago when everybody was fighting for net neutrality? There was like this pseudo tiered, I guess, Time Warner plan or Comcast plan, right? It had like $49.99 basic email and chat, $59.99 YouTube, and they had like the video package, and they had this package, and they had do you remember that thing came out? It was like a fake poster for this, and it was saying like this could happen to the internet now.
Oh, yeah,
where you get access to all these services for $49.99. You get access to more services. You get Netflix, Amazon, Hulu for $59.99. Well, that kind of exists now, right? You have different tiered plans. If I went on the lowest tier Time Warner plan currently, I probably wouldn't be able to do as much as I'm doing now on my, the highest plan that's available. That kind of exists to an extent. You pay more and you get more bandwidth and you're able to do more. But do we want this to happen? Do we want to allow the ISPs to say, well, listen, you're watching Netflix, so you're gonna have to pay more to get Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon access. If you don't, then we're gonna block those services, or we're gonna heavily throttle it.
This is all theoretical. At
theoretical.
This point.
Yeah, it is. It's theoretical.
This is all speculation, and that's what I'm saying is that this is all speculation because at this point nobody's proved that any of this stuff is happening. It's a concern that it could happen, sure, but it hasn't happened.
Yeah. Listen, they need better.
Even Netflix says this has not happened.
You know what's amazing? Like they talk about regulation, right? Like this is the government is regulating. Why don't we regulate the merger of two giant companies a little bit more? Why don't we say that that's not a good idea? The consumer will not win when this happens. The consumer will not win when you have a Comcast and a Time Warner becoming one mega company. How will we benefit? And you know what? Right now it is a monopoly, so it doesn't even matter if they merge because they can't even compete. They don't even compete in the same area. You don't have an option. Right now we have Verizon here on the East Coast. We have Verizon and we have Time Warner. And Verizon, their locations are so sparse.
You've got the new rules now that say that broadband is defined as 25 megabits per second up. Or, 25 megabits per second down.
And what's the
up?
At
least I think it was 3 megabits per second up.
Yeah, which they're all doing.
Not everybody.
Time Warner.
Most people have that. But it's not consistent from location to location. That's part of the problem is that there's no consistency.
Yeah.
I understand more of the rural areas are going to have issues with that. But still, in my area, and then I looked at this recently, the fastest that I can get with AT&T Uverse is 45 megabits per second down. And while that does qualify as broadband, somebody in my position that does a lot of work on the internet and needs decent speed, that's not quite enough.
It is not quite enough.
And the only other person that I can turn to for faster internet is Comcast. Comcast is the only company that I can get that has faster internet than 45 megabits per second. Why isn't AT&T offering and matching similar plans that Comcast offers in this area?
Because they don't have to. They don't have to. They don't want to, or they don't care. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a disaster to begin with, because there's going to be so many loopholes around everything that they're saying. We're going to find out more in 20 days, really, what's in this. We have some sort of idea, but not really. And things could change, obviously.
The way I see this is that this is not going to change anything. It's one of those situations where basically Tom Wheeler is saying that if, when, and if, and that's a big if, any company we see is possibly doing something wrong, we could use Title II in these very specific areas to regulate those companies.
Let me just say, it's
a very narrow definition of when and if they would use Title II.
Let me just say, I'm not really comfortable with the fact that Tom Wheeler, the head of the FCC, was a former lobbyist for the ISPs.
He does seem to be trying to actually make an effort to be reasonable, though. I think as far as I can tell, he has been giving this a lot of effort and thought into it. It's not like he's just going out and saying this and that. It does seem like he's trying to be calculated and giving it thought into how this could best be done.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to find out in 20 days, and the reality is not much is going to change. Right. I don't think we're going to see this.
I don't expect anything to change, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it'd be so much better if they say, hey, listen, guys, why don't you compete in the same markets, and we'll see what happens. You could share those lines. You know? Just like they did with the telcos. You know? I don't know. All right. John, why don't you pick another story?
Let's talk about this yet another giant data breach. Anthem, which is the parent company of Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is one of the nation's largest insurers, was hacked and exposed about 80 million people's worth of data, including like social security numbers. I forget what else, names, information, some very few medical details, but basically just account information of who you are. But they're saying that this could be one of the largest, if not the largest, data breaches.
How many people is it affecting?
80 million people.
That's tremendous. Any idea how it happened?
I don't. They're not really saying. The company has actually come out and said that this could be China that hacked this, because the hack does kind of look like the pattern that China has used in the past, and that there is a pattern of China trying to access medical information to target certain government officials and contractors.
Interesting. Yeah, we're going to see more of these.
There was another medical company that was recently hacked, and it was supposedly done by China to target these government officials and contractors. So it does look like China is after this information so that they can use it for social engineering hacks, whereby if they get this information in a much simpler manner, they could then use that information to gain higher access within the government using that information.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a government official that is included in this database breach that China got. They could possibly use that information to actually breach a system within the government.
Cyber espionage is the future of war. I mean, that's just how the wars are going to be fought from now on.
I think this is crazy that, at this point, this is something that almost seems like it's a monthly occurrence. Almost every month, it seems like there's a very large data breach.
And it's only going to continue.
Yeah.
It's only going to grow.
I do not think we are adequately defended in this area whatsoever, because it seems like it's all too easy for these things to happen. If you look at the number of attacks and breaches over the last year, just the last year, That's an staggering amount of people that have had their data breached in one way or another.
So we had who were the big ones from last year?
Target.
Target was one.
There was a bank that got hacked recently that was very large.
Bank of America. Wasn't it Bank of America?
I don't know if it was Bank of America. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might have been Chase. I'm not sure.
It's so scary. Listen, I think we need.
And these
to
are just the ones that we
everything.
actually know about. Who's to say that there's not other?
Oh, that they haven't
large
disclosed?
companies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's been breaches that we haven't even heard about. These are the ones that we find out.
That's even scarier. Yeah, Home Depot was hacked.
Yeah, Home Depot was a big one. Target was the other one. Target, Home Depot. We're going to see more of these guys.
And the fact that it doesn't seem like there's anything we can do about that.
Yeah. On that note, John, let's wrap it up for today. Hey guys, we updated our Roku app. Just a little update here. We will have a live stream on the Roku app. It's all done on our end. We submitted it to Roku. We're just waiting for them to approve this thing. It's been over 2 weeks now. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know what the delay is. Normally it takes them 3 to 4 days.
All we did
update
was
this.
change the URL in the application to where the live stream goes. That's all we did.
And apparently it's still not working and it's still not updated. So hang on tight. I'm going to find out. I'm hoping that by the end of next week it's updated. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers, guys, at this point. If you want to help us out, you want to support the show, you want to fund us, you could do it by going to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/whatthetech. Even though it's for What the Tech, it helps us out everywhere. You get the GFK Network. Also, use our Amazon link. Whenever you're buying something on Amazon, be sure to go to gfq.co/Amazon, bookmark it, and for everything that you buy, every purchase that you make, we get a tiny little credit, and that tiny little credit helps us out a lot in the studio whenever we have to do upgrades for hardware or anything that we're buying for GFQ. We do it through our Amazon link. That's gfq.co/Amazon. You can do that. Also, we have a Reddit page, gfqtech.reddit.com. Submit your stories there. You can follow John on Twitter @Suncast. You can follow me on Twitter @AndrewZarian. And that's it, guys. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.